Have you ever wanted to learn photography, but you thought you were too old to start? Maybe you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or beyond, and you're wondering, is it worth investing the time and money into learning something completely new at this stage of your life? Well, today I want to share something with you, and that is that I didn't actually really start photography until I was 45. And now, several years later, I'm in my 50s now, and photography has become a much huger part of my life than I had ever imagined. This is why I'm so passionate about encouraging beginner photographers or people who want to begin but haven't even taken that first step yet. Today, I want to share with you the things I wish I had known when I first started at 45, and hopefully encourage someone who's been wanting to pick up a camera but hasn't done it yet. So I've talked before in the past in videos about the fact that as far back as I can remember in early childhood, I was interested in cameras and photography and even big zoom lenses. I had a couple different film cameras over the years, and then the digital era came in and I was really resisting that. And what happened was I didn't photograph much because of the cost of buying film, developing film. It always made me kind of put it off and try to save it for special moments only. And then cell phones started having cameras, and that ushered me into digital photography. I started using it. I started liking it. The early ones were really bad, but they quickly started improving. And somewhere in my 30s, we bought a motorhome and we started traveling more. And I was doing a lot of landscape photography because a camera phone can do that very, very well. And I was actually getting a lot of compliments on my landscape photography. And then when I was 45, my Christmas present from my husband and my son was a DSLR camera. And that's where my journey really began. Prior to getting the camera, I had looked into photography multiple times over the years because I thought, like, I have cameras, but I want to get better. I want to learn more. And it seemed like every time I started reading about photography, it would always begin with the exposure triangle. And not having a camera to look at and use and adjust all those settings and figure out what they do, it just didn't connect for my brain. And I would kind of give up and put it to the side. And then a few years later, I would pick it up again and try. And it was really frustrating until I actually had a camera with those manual settings on it, and I could experiment and see for myself and start understanding more. So if you've been in that same situation, just hang in there and know that once you have an actual camera with those settings, it's much easier to learn. However, when I got the camera, I was a little worried that it might be really challenging. It might be a little too techy for me because I am not very good with tech. I do learn things, but I'm pretty slow. There's a lot of things I don't know. I'm in my 50s. It just doesn't come naturally to my brain like it does a lot of younger people, although I have met older people whose brains are just naturally inclined for tech. We're all unique individuals. Some people put it off thinking they need really expensive gear, and I didn't really think that. I just had a hard time understanding like the schooling of photography without having an actual camera. I do think a natural talent for photography is helpful, but some people can definitely learn. You know, it isn't all just natural talent. Even with natural talent, you still have to learn and improve upon your natural talent. And I think what surprised me the most in photography is just how much I love it. I knew I liked it. I knew it was something I was very interested in, and I felt like I had a natural talent for, but how big a part of my life it has become does surprise me when I look back. Psst. Hey, you. I wanted to interrupt your video for one quick moment. YouTube is telling me that the majority of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel. So if that's you, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, I would love to ask you to consider subscribing. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider sharing it with others that you know would love it. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Now, back to your video. So initially, when you get a camera, you have to figure that camera out. They can all be a little bit different. And I was very nervous about this because like I said, I'm not great with tech. I was very lucky. I found a video on my specific camera that I had originally gotten, my D3400. Tony and Chelsea Northrup had a video where they went through every single setting on the camera. It was a little over an hour. And so I went through it and did it all with them. And that really helped me feel like I had a grasp on the camera. I also bought the dummies guide for my specific camera. I don't think they make those guides anymore. I love those. I have them on a lot of different things, and I had it for that specific camera. I was hoping to get one for my mirrorless camera, but they don't seem to have one. And I don't know if they make those guides at all anymore, sadly. They were really helpful. But I did find some tutorials on my mirrorless camera on YouTube, but mostly it's not that different from my DSLR. That was my big concern. How much harder was it going to be? Once I mastered one camera, can I then jump over to another one? Yes, I was able to very easily. I did, of course, stay within the same company, the same brand, which is Nikon. I started with a Nikon, and because I could keep all my lenses, I stayed with Nikon, and I love Nikon. I have nothing to compare it to, but I have no complaints. If I didn't like it, I would have switched. But yes, learning all the buttons, all the settings, the exposure triangle is a big one, your autofocus, learning how to photograph moving subjects, and learning how to consistently get sharp photos. All of those things are going to have a learning curve for each person. But take heart, you don't have to learn everything all at once. I would say pick one thing at a time to really focus on and learn. You don't have to master the entire camera in order to enjoy photography. And quite honestly, there may be some settings that you don't really need or use for maybe never, or maybe not for quite a few years into your photography. And that's okay. So a big thing when you're starting at an older age is you feel like you're behind. So you need to remind yourself, maybe over and over again, that you are not behind. You are your own person on your own journey, and you are right where you need to be. So please don't be comparing yourself to other photographers who have been into photography for a lot more years than you, or maybe even someone who started up around the same time as you and they are a quicker learner, perhaps. We're all different and we all learn at different speeds. I will say that for quite a few years when I was into photography and I was out and about photographing, especially wildlife, I met a lot of photographers that were not nice. And I kind of came to the conclusion that they're just not friendly and they're not nice. And so I just stopped trying to be friendly with them. And I just minded my own business and did what I was there to do and just left. And I'm very, very grateful for finding that eagle nest that I found, Lion Scruffy's eagle nest, because spending time there and with the group of people that spend time there, everyone there was just so incredibly nice, and they could talk photography shop, if you will, and someone could say, I don't know what that is, or, I'm self-taught, I'm kind of not up on all that. And nobody judged them, nobody criticized them, no one made them feel stupid. And it was just such a nice group of people. And so it sort of healed my soul in a sense in regards to other photographers and how they are as people. I still now I'm not the initiator if I'm out and I see another photographer, just because I've had so many bad experiences, but I am open to making eye contact and chatting and talking, and I like that sort of thing. And maybe some other people don't, but it is nice to know that not everyone is that way. Not everyone judges your gear or something you're doing. Some people do, yes, but not everyone does. And that's a good thing to know. So never feel like everyone else knows more than you. Don't be intimidated when you look at social media. Honestly, a lot of pictures on social media are AI or heavily photoshopped, and they often aren't fair comparisons. One of the things I do enjoy on social media, especially Instagram, is just looking at different photographers' styles in their photos. And I do follow people whose style I like a lot, and that I feel like it resonates with me. And I can also see that I have my own style. So don't worry that you'll never be good enough. If you are enjoying yourself and you are learning and growing, you are good enough as a photographer. Everyone starts somewhere, and you don't have to catch up to someone else's 10 or 20 or 30-year journey in photography overnight. or ever. You only have to take the step to start your own journey. Okay, so let's talk about gear and accessories. This is something that I've talked about many, many times, and the fact that I was very careful and strategic in what I chose to purchase. I didn't want a bunch of clutter taking up space, things that I wasn't even going to use in the future. I stuck with the 2 kit lenses that came with my DSLR camera for quite a while before I ventured off into other lenses. And I looked for areas where I had a need, a very specific need, and I found a lens that would fill that need before I decided to make those purchases. But remember, you don't need the most expensive camera. You don't need every lens. You don't need every accessory. You don't need to be constantly upgrading. And buying used gear can be a great option. Definitely learn the camera you have right now before you move on to another camera. And that's right now and in the future. Always learn your camera well before you decide to upgrade to another camera. And yes, invest in equipment that will actually help you photograph the subjects that you love. So things that are going to make your workflow easier, faster, better, those are things worth investing in. So keep in mind that starting later in life can definitely be an advantage. As we get older, we get to know ourselves better and we are more comfortable with ourselves. You have more patience, most likely, not everyone does, but most likely with yourself and just with the world in general. You definitely have more life experience behind you. You probably have a better idea of what does and doesn't interest you, but be open to trying new areas in photography because you might be surprised. Hopefully you feel less pressure to be impressing people and you may have a greater appreciation for the moments that you're capturing. And hopefully you're at a stage of your life where you're able to slow down and observe the world around you and then capture it. Remember, photography isn't just a technical skill. There is a technical skill side of it, but there's also just your eye and what you see. And very often I see things in nature. I see things and I want to capture it so I can show other people what I saw. That is very often my motivation for taking photos. It really is all about how you see the world. So at some point, once you get going, you will find your niche. And that's why I said stay open to different types of photography. I honestly didn't know what I was going to enjoy most when I got my camera. I know that I was enjoying doing landscape. I had always photographed people and animals and pets, and I always appreciated birds. So once I had my 70-300 lens, it was a kit lens that came with my camera. I was using that and trying to get birds. And I did get a lot. I later upgraded to the 18-300 lens, which was a better lens than the 70-300. And I used that for wildlife for many years. Yes, I needed a bigger lens and I wanted a bigger lens. Just wasn't in the budget for quite a while, but I did what I could with what I had. And I think I got some really great photos in that time. But I do really enjoy wildlife. I enjoy nature, landscapes. I enjoy photographing people and pets. And I also enjoy macro photography. And I really want to do real estate photography. But I think, the nature, wildlife, landscape makes sense for me. I grew up camping and really appreciating nature and loving it and loving the wildlife. And so it was just sort of a natural area for me to go into and want to capture those things. Another point to keep in mind is to not feel pressure to photograph what everyone else is photographing. I think I felt that a little bit early on because I see so many people on Instagram who do portraits of people and families and that type of photography. And I felt like that's what everyone's doing and I should probably be doing that. And I do enjoy photographing people, but I don't have that many people who are here saying, photograph me. So it doesn't happen that often, honestly. But I had to let go of that and realize I'm still a photographer in my own niche. And they have their niche and I have my niche. Some of those people only do portraits. They don't do anything else. And that's okay too. It's important to find your niche and be the best you can be in that niche. But don't worry about needing to find your niche early on. Just start exploring and photographing. One thing I did in the very beginning was on Instagram, I would find photography challenges. And so every day of the month, they had a theme. And you would go photograph something for that theme and post it and hashtag it. And then I never looked at other people's posts until after I did mine because I didn't want it to influence what I was doing. And it was always so fascinating to me how there were so many interpretations of that theme. Everyone saw it a different way and photographed it a different way. But that was actually something that really made me start learning my settings. And, it pushed me out of just picking up a camera and photographing a flower or, my dog or something like that. Easy things that just came naturally to me. It really made me think. It really made me work on composition of my photos. It really challenged me and pushed me in ways that I really appreciated, especially as a beginner. So I do recommend looking for things like that, or even just creating your own if you can't find them, because I actually don't know if the ones I was doing are still there. I haven't seen them, but maybe they're just not showing up on my feed. But you could even just do your own. Just pick a random word for each day. It was like gold or shimmer or cold or, it was just all these different words, and you had to come up with something and photograph it and then share it. You could certainly do that yourself too. But at the same time, pay attention to what excites you to pick up your camera. What do you see and think, ooh, I need to capture this? Pay attention to those moments because that is a clue to your area that you should probably hone in on in the future. I also recommend studying your own photos, and sometimes it's worthwhile comparing to others to see what you're doing versus what they're doing, and maybe you could learn how to do things differently. Sometimes you may get stuck in a rut, and it's a good thing to take a step back and find new ways, especially when you're self-taught. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, but always be willing to learn from your mistakes. And yes, tutorials are great, but you might want to take a step back and watch less tutorials and actually get out there and use your camera more. One of the ways I learned early on is my D3400 had a whole bunch of automatic settings, and I would try them all out and look at my photos. And then the ones that I really liked, I would look at what the settings were that the camera chose to use, and seeing that and comparing the settings on, I would take the same picture on a whole bunch of different automatic modes. And I really only used the automatic modes for maybe 1 week when I first got my camera. And I mostly did that. I just took the same picture in every mode, and I looked at the differences in them, and I looked at what the settings were that the camera chose. And that helped my brain understand a little bit better. So consider trying that if you think that would help you. I'm sure it won't work for everyone, but it did really help me. So I just gotta say, if you're thinking about starting photography, don't wait until you have the perfect camera. Don't wait until you have more time. Don't wait until you know everything about photography. Don't worry about being older than other beginners out there. And never forget, you don't need anyone's permission to start. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to own the best camera. You just need to begin. So my challenge for you, take whatever camera you currently have access to, even if it's your phone, and photograph something today. And try to do it every single day. Don't worry about whether the photo is good or not. And don't worry about whether someone else is going to like it or not. Just start paying attention to the world around you. Start noticing light. Good lighting is what takes a photo from good to outstanding. So noticing lighting is huge. Very often I see things with fantastic lighting and I have to stop. I have to get a picture of it because it's just phenomenal. It's like, oh, I love great lighting. And when you're outdoors, you have to find the lighting. It's not like indoors where you create it with actual photography lights. So start looking at the world through a photographer's eyes. So if you're already a photographer, I would love to know, how old were you when you started photography? And if you're thinking about starting, I would really like to know what's holding you back from actually starting. So please comment those below in the comment section. I would love to hear your story. And if you're interested in hearing what photography is like now that I'm in my 50s. Be sure to subscribe and stick around because I will be doing a video on that in the near future. There are definitely some more or different challenges and some unexpected benefits that come along with that. But never forget, it's never too late to start something new. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day and God bless you.